Okay, our objective today is that we'll be able to multiply multiples of 10, 100, or 1,000 by a single digit number. So let's go back to our lesson not too long ago where we were practicing multiplying by multiples of 10. Okay, so single digit by 10. So who would like to... Now I'm getting back in my classroom mode. Okay, let's go over the answers. I want you to shout out while we go over them and then check your work. I wish I could have you guys shout out who could raise their hand. All right, 2 times 10 is, that is 20. 3 times 10 is 30. 5 times 10 is 50. You guys are probably like, Mrs. Google, this is easy. 6 times 10 is 60. And 9 times 10 is 90. Okay, so we did those. We know how to do those. Those are pretty simple. But now we're going to look at numbers. And I'm going to draw a little line in between. Sorry, I wrote them a little close today. Okay, I missed my whiteboard. So now we're going to look at these. How are these different? So we're going to see that these are multiples of 10, but they're not 10. So here it's really easy to say, oh, 2 times 1 is always going to be, anything times 1 is always going to be that number. So we just have to write the number we're multiplying by and add how many zeros there were. But this time, we're not multiplying by 10, are we? We're not. So I'm going to teach you a trick that we're going to do, and this is going to help you answer any multiplication problem by a multiple of 10, 100, or 1,000 by a single digit number. So I'm going to look at these two numbers. I'm going to multiply those, then I'm going to add that 0. And I'm going to explain why in just a moment. So first, let's look through this. 2 times 4 is what? That's 8. And then I add that 0, and I get what? I get 80. So let's look at this a little bit closer. So having 2 times 40 is just like saying I have 2 groups of 40 things, right? Saying I have 40 cookies on this plate and 40 cookies on this plate. It'd also be 40 plus 40, which would be, okay, our zeros, and 4 plus 4 is 8. So what if, so do we still get that number, same number? Okay, so now, what if I were to make it 3 times 40? All right, so now I have 3 times 40. Let's see if we get the same number. So 3 times 40 is going to say 40 plus 40 plus 40, right? I have 4 groups, and I want to see how many they are all together. So those zeros come down. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. Carry my 1. Carry that down. So 120. Let's see if we get the same thing by doing that trick we did up here, okay? So if I have 3 times 4, what does that equal? That equals 12. So if I write 12 and add that 0, my answer is 120. Does that match the answer we just got by breaking it up and looking at the groups of it? It is. So I am going to go through and use this trick because it is a simpler way than drawing it out or adding it all up. We, of course, want to do something that we can then move to mental computation. So I want to teach you a way to do this that you can solve it faster. That does not mean it is the only way to solve this problem. You can always break up numbers. That's why I wanted to show you that if we do break it up, if we draw the picture, if we make it an addition problem, it's still going to come up with that same answer. So that's something I wanted to show you as we use this technique. So let's see what it would be as we move. I'm going to fold this in half. Those numbers are throwing me off, which means they're probably throwing you off too. Okay, that a little better? I know exactly who just said yes. I know exactly who that was. I'm hear ya. Okay, so I'm going to look at these two numbers and I'm going to multiply them by themselves, by each other. So 3 times 5, what does that equal? That equals 15. I'm going to add how many zeros? I'm going to add 1. So I'm going to put 15, add my 0. 3 times 50 is 150. I'm going to count that out really quick just because we can count by 50s quickly. Okay, so let's count it out. Okay, so 50, 100, 150. Did that make the same answer? It did. Okay, so now I have 5 times 7. Well, really, it's 5 times 70. Can't forget our 0. Okay, so 5 times 7, when I look at that, what is that? 35. Okay, and so I'm going to write 35. How many zeros am I going to add? Just the one here that we see. So 5 times 70 is 350. All right, let's look at these numbers. We have 6 times 20. We're going to pull our 6 and 2. 6 times 2 is 12. How many zeros am I going to add? 1. So 12, add 1 0. 6 times 20 is 120. All right, 9 times 40. 9 times 4 is 36. How many zeros? 1. So 36, add 1 0. 9 times 40 is 360. Okay. I'm going to toughen it up a bit for you. I know that's what you all were saying. You're saying, Mrs. Kugel, let's make this harder. I hear ya. I hear ya. Okay. Now we're timesing by multiples of 100. But the only thing that changes about that is that we're now going to add how many zeros at the end? We're going to add 2 zeros. That's the only thing about this technique that's going to change. I'm still going to look at my 2 numbers that I'm multiplying. Okay, so 2 times 3 is 6. So 6, add how many zeros? 2. And this is 3 digits, so I know when I have 3 digits, that's 3 place values, I don't need a comma. So I'm going to just leave that. So 2 times 300 is 600. Now let's look at 3 times 600. 3 times 6 is 18. And how many zeros am I going to add? I'm going to add 2. So I'm going to put 18. Add my 2 zeros. Now I have 4 digits. I know as a good mathematician that anytime there's 4 digits, there needs to be a comma in there. So I'm going to count back 3 place values because I know that's where a comma lays. 1, 2, 3, comma. So that equals 1,800. Okay, next one, 5 times 800. 5 times 8 is 40. Don't get confused here. There is a 0 at the end of 40. I still need to add 2 zeros. There's a 0 here. There are going to be 3 zeros in the end, but that's because this number created a 0. So don't let that confuse you. I still need to add my 2 zeros. Okay? Because let's think about if we didn't add that 0. Let's think about if we just made it 2 zeros. That would take 5 times 800 would equal 400. Would that make sense? No, that would not make sense. So when it comes down to it, if those zeros are kind of jumbling for you, I want you to be like, does that make sense? Just like good readers do. Does that make sense? Would 400 be 5 groups of 800? No, never. That's less than 1 group of 800. So let's count back our 3 digits. 1, 2, 3. Those 3 place values makes that 4,000. All right, 6 times 500. 6 times 5 is 30. Oh, here we have that 0 again. So I'm going to write 30. Add how many zeros? 2 additional zeros, right? 1, 2, 3 back would equal 3,000. Last one, 9 times 700. So 9 times 7 is 63. How many zeros am I going to add? I'm going to add 2. Okay, count back. 1, 2, 3, comma. So 6,300. Okay. This is confusing to you. What do you need to do? You need to reach out to me. I can't see your beautiful faces showing me whether like, hey, Mrs. Kugel, speed up, or hey, Mrs. Kugel, slow down. I wish I could, but I can't. So you gotta let me know, okay? All right. Now, same technique. I'm just adding how many additional zeros at the end? 3, okay? So let's start with 2 times 4,000. 2 times 4 is 8. How many zeros do I add? 3. Go back 3 place values. 1, 2, 3, comma. 2 times 4,000 equals 8,000. Does that make sense? It does. That would make sense. 6 times 2,000. 6 times 2 is 12. How many zeros? 3 to equal, cutting off my answer there, try that again. 6 times 2,000 is 12,000. That is not a mistake you want to make, especially when thinking about money. Okay, 3 times 8,000. 3 times 8 is 24. Add how many zeros? 3. Count back your place values. 24,000. 9 times 9,000. Ooh, 9 times 9, square number. Anyone? What is it? 81. And how many zeros? 3. So 9 times 9,000 is 81,000. And finally, 5 times 4,000. 5 times 4 is 20. Oh, we got a 0 there. But we still need to add how many additional zeros? We still need to add those 3 zeros. Go back 3 place values for 20,000. 5 times 4,000 is 20,000. Okay. now I'm going to have you press pause in just a moment. I want you to go into your journal, rip out a piece of paper from the back side of it. And you do not have to fill your page like I did. I'm going to have these 4 and then 4 more. And so, these ones, we're going to kind of go through steps. So these ones, you're going to press pause. You're going to come back. We're going to self-check them. Then, the next ones I want you to do on your own, and then you're going to send me a picture of them. So I am going to do this first one just because this is in the algorithm form, but the technique that we're doing should be the same. So I'm going to do one for you, then you're going to press pause and do the other 3. Okay, so we're still going to look at 4 times 6, and how many zeros are we going to add? We're going to add 1. So 4 times 6, I'm going to move this up a little bit, 24. Add how many zeros? 1. Okay, so 40 times 6 is 240. I want you to press pause and write down and answer 300 times 8, 80 times 7, 9,000 times 3 now. Press pause. Okay, you should have these 3, going out of order here, these 3 problems answered already. If not, I need you to press pause and answer them now. If you do have answers, I just want you to check your answers with me now. So I'm going to multiply these 2 numbers and add how many zeros? I'm going to add 2 zeros. So 3 times 8, what does that equal? That's 24. Okay, and then how many zeros am I going to add? 2. So, count back my 3 place values, 1, 2, 3. That's 2,400. 80 times 7. I'm going to do 8 times 7 and add how many zeros? 1. So, 8 times 7 is 56. Add how many zeros? 1. So 80 times 7 is 560. All right, and then last one is 9,000 times 3. I'm going to do 9 times 3 and add how many extra zeros? Add 3. So 9 times 3 is 27. Add 3 zeros. Count back 3. 1, 2, 3, comma. So that would be 27,000. So I want you to check your work with this. If you have any questions, go back. Rewatch some of the lessons so that we can figure that out. Reach out to me. Say, I am confused. Let's walk through it together, okay? Then I want you on the bottom part of the page you just did these questions on, I want you to write down and answer these 4. 400 times 4, 6,000 times 7, 60 times 2, and 3,000 times 5. I want you to write those down. Send me a picture of the answers. I am keeping track. I am giving shout outs. So send it to me. You have about 1 million different outlets that I can receive it from. So I am counting them from any which way that you need to do it. All right. Let me know if you need anything.